I lost a bet to Stephen Hawking. Not a small bet, a bet about the nature of reality itself. A bet that divided the physics community for 30 years and forced us to rethink everything we thought we knew about black holes, information, and the fabric of the universe. I won. But here's the thing. Even now, even knowing I was right, I'm not sure any of us fully understand what winning actually means. Because the answer to that argument, the resolution to the most important physics debate of the last half-century, implies something so strange, so deeply unsettling about the structure of reality that I still lie awake thinking about it. Black holes have no inside. Not in the way you think, not a technicality, not a matter of perspective. The interior of a black hole, that vast, dark, crushing volume beyond the event horizon that you've seen in every documentary and every movie, may not exist at all. I'm Leonard Susskind, and I want to tell you what 30 years of fighting with Stephen Hawking taught me about what black holes actually are and what they reveal about the universe we all think we're living in. Let's start with what everyone knows, or thinks they know. A black hole forms when enough mass is compressed into a small enough region that gravity becomes so strong nothing can escape. Not matter, not light, nothing. The boundary of no return is called the event horizon. Cross it and you're gone. The escape velocity exceeds the speed of light. Physics as we understand it says that's a one-way door. Inside that door, according to general relativity, all the mass is crushed toward a singularity at the center, a point of infinite density. The same kind of mathematical breakdown we talked about with the Big Bang. The equations stop working, the physics gives up. For decades, physicists accepted this picture. Black hole forms, matter falls in, matter gets crushed, end of story. Then Stephen Hawking changed everything. In 1974, Hawking made one of the most stunning theoretical discoveries in the history of physics. Black holes aren't black. They glow, faintly, almost imperceptibly, but they radiate energy. They slowly evaporate. Given enough time, an almost incomprehensible amount of time, longer than the current age of the universe, for any black hole we know about, a black hole will radiate away all its mass and disappear completely. This is called Hawking radiation. And it's almost certainly correct. The calculation is clean, the physics is solid. It follows from combining quantum mechanics with gravity at the event horizon in a way that even the most skeptical physicists accept. But Hawking radiation created a catastrophic problem. Where does the information go? Here's why that question matters. In quantum mechanics, the most precisely tested theory in the history of physics, information is conserved, always, without exception. The complete quantum state of a system at one moment determines the complete quantum state at every future moment. You can run the equations forward and backward. Nothing is ever truly lost. Information is indestructible. This is not a philosophical preference. It's a mathematical theorem built into the foundations of quantum mechanics. Destroy information and you destroy quantum mechanics itself. Now think about what happens when something falls into a black hole. A book, a person, a star, all that information, every atom, every quantum state, every bit of data encoded in the physical structure of that object crosses the event horizon and, according to the standard picture, gets compressed toward the singularity. Then the black hole evaporates, radiates away as Hawking radiation, and disappears. Where did the information go? Hawking's answer in 1976 was brutal and simple. It's gone, destroyed. The information that fell into the black hole does not come back out in the Hawking radiation. It vanishes when the black hole evaporates. Information is not conserved. Quantum mechanics, at least in this extreme situation, breaks down. This is called the black hole information paradox, and it tore the physics community in half. On one side, Hawking and most of the general relativity community, information is lost. Accept it. The universe is fundamentally irreversible in the presence of black holes. Quantum mechanics needs to be modified. On the other side, me and most of the particle physics and string theory community, information cannot be lost. Quantum mechanics cannot break down. Hawking has to be wrong, even if we can't yet explain exactly how. I want to be honest about what that argument felt like. Stephen Hawking was not just famous. He was one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century. His calculation was meticulous. His reasoning was airtight, given his assumptions. Saying he was wrong felt, to many people, like scientific heresy. But I was certain, not because I had a better calculation. I didn't, not yet. I was certain because I trusted quantum mechanics more than I trusted any specific model of what happens inside a black hole. If the two are in conflict, general relativity has to give way. It has to, because quantum mechanics is more fundamental. The question was, how? The answer came slowly, over years, from multiple directions, and it converged on something nobody had anticipated: the holographic principle. Here's where the story gets truly strange. And I mean strange in the precise technical sense, not the popular science hand-waving sense. In the early 1990s, working with Gerard 't Hooft, I started developing an idea that seemed almost too radical to take seriously. What if everything that happens inside a black hole is completely encoded on its surface? Not metaphorically, not approximately, exactly and completely. Every particle, every quantum state, every bit of information inside the black hole, all of it is a kind of holographic projection of information stored on the two-dimensional event horizon. Think about what a hologram is. A two-dimensional surface, a flat piece of film that encodes a complete three-dimensional image. You look at it from the right angle, and a three-dimensional object appears to float in space. The 3D image is real, you can see it, but all the information needed to create it lives on the 2D surface. The holographic principle says black holes work the same way. The three-dimensional interior is a projection. The fundamental reality is the two-dimensional surface. And then Juan Maldacena extended this into something even more radical. What if this isn't just a property of black holes? What if it's a property of the universe itself? What if our three-dimensional reality, everything you see, touch, experience, is a holographic projection of information encoded on a two-dimensional surface at the boundary of the universe? This is ADS CFT correspondence, one of the most important theoretical discoveries in physics in the last 30 years. It's not speculation, it's a precise mathematical duality. A three-dimensional universe with gravity is exactly equivalent to a two-dimensional universe without gravity. The two descriptions are different ways of encoding the same information. I need you to sit with that for a moment. The three dimensions you experience, length, width, height, may not be fundamental. They may be an emergent property, a projection, a very detailed, very consistent hologram generated by physics happening on a surface you can't see, a surface that doesn't have depth, doesn't have volume, doesn't have an inside, which brings us back to black holes. If the holographic principle is correct, then the interior of a black hole is not a separate region of space that matter falls into and gets trapped inside. It's a holographic description, an equivalent way of talking about physics that's fully encoded on the event horizon. The inside and the outside are not two different places. They're two different descriptions of the same information. Black holes have no inside the way a hologram has no inside. The appearance of an interior is real. It's a valid description of the physics, but it's not more fundamental than the surface description. And crucially, from the surface description, information is never lost. It's encoded on the horizon. When the black hole evaporates, the information comes back out in the Hawking radiation, scrambled almost beyond recognition but there, intact, conserved. Hawking eventually conceded. In 2004, at a conference in Dublin, he publicly admitted that information is not lost in black holes. He paid off his bet a baseball encyclopedia, since the information in it would never be destroyed. It was one of the most extraordinary moments in the history of physics. One of the greatest scientists of the century, publicly revising one of his most famous results. But I want to tell you something that doesn't get said often enough. Hawking conceding didn't close the question. It opened it wider. Because if the holographic principle is right, if black holes have no inside in the fundamental sense, then we have to ask a question that is genuinely terrifying. Does anything have an inside? The same mathematics that resolves the black hole information paradox applies to the entire universe. ADS CFT doesn't just describe black holes, it describes all of space-time. If a black hole's interior is a holographic projection, and our universe obeys the same holographic principle, then our universe's interior, the three-dimensional space you inhabit right now, is also a holographic projection. You are not inside the universe the way you're inside a room. You are a holographic description, a pattern of information encoded on a surface at the boundary of space-time, projected inward as what feels to you like three-dimensional reality. The depth you perceive, the volume, the sense of being surrounded by space in 3 dimensions. These are real in the sense that they're consistent descriptions of valid physics. But they may not be fundamental. The fundamental reality may be flat, 2-dimensional, a surface. Now I need to introduce the firewall paradox, because it shows just how unresolved this actually is. In 2012, 4 physicists, Almheri, Marolf, Polchinski, and Sully, the so-called AMPS collaboration, published a paper that shook the foundations of everything I just described. They showed that if information really does come out in the Hawking radiation, if quantum mechanics is truly preserved, then something catastrophic must happen at the event horizon. An infalling observer, instead of crossing the horizon smoothly and feeling nothing unusual, as general relativity predicts, would instead hit a wall of high-energy radiation, a firewall. Instant destruction at the boundary. This created a new paradox. You can preserve quantum mechanics, or you can preserve general relativity's prediction that crossing an event horizon is a smooth, uneventful experience. But you can't have both. Something has to give. We don't know which. This is the honest state of physics in 2024. The information paradox is resolved in principle. Information is not destroyed. The holographic principle is almost certainly correct. But the precise mechanism, the exact description of what an infalling observer experiences, remains contested. The firewall paradox is a genuine, open, unresolved problem. Some of the best minds in physics are working on it right now. I find this beautiful, not because I enjoy confusion, but because it tells us we're at the edge. The firewall paradox is the kind of problem that only appears when you've pushed a theory far enough to find its limits. It's a sign that the next breakthrough is close. Let me tell you what I take away from all of this. From 30 years of arguing about black holes, from the information paradox, from the holographic principle, from the firewall debate, reality has layers. The description that feels most natural to you, 3 dimensions, solid objects, space with depth and volume, is real. It works, it predicts. It's a valid description of physics, but it's not the only description, and it may not be the deepest one. What we call the inside of a black hole is a description, a consistent, valid, internally coherent description, but it's equivalent to a description that has no inside. The same information encoded differently. Neither is more real. Both are true. And if that's true for black holes, we have no particular reason to think it isn't true for the universe at large. You might be asking, what does any of this mean for how I live my life? Does it matter if I'm a hologram? Here's what I think. It matters because it's true. And because the universe being stranger than we imagined is always better than the universe being exactly what we expected. Every time physics has revealed a deeper layer from atoms to quarks, from classical mechanics to quantum mechanics, from flat space to curved space-time, it has opened possibilities that were literally unimaginable from the previous level. Consider what it meant when we discovered atoms. For thousands of years, matter seemed continuous, solid, smooth, infinitely divisible in principle. Then we found it wasn't. It came in discrete packets, and that discovery, that one level deeper, gave us chemistry, semiconductors, lasers, the entire technological civilization you inhabit. The deeper layer changed everything. Now we're finding another deeper layer. Space-time itself appears to be emergent, not fundamental, not the bedrock of reality, but a projection, a description, a hologram, generated by something more basic that we don't yet fully understand. What becomes possible when we understand that layer completely? What technologies, what capabilities, what ways of being in the universe open up when you understand that the three-dimensional space you move through is not the bottom of reality? I genuinely don't know. And that's the most exciting sentence I've said in this entire conversation. We don't know what a complete theory of quantum gravity will make possible. We don't know what the holographic nature of space-time implies about consciousness, about computation, about the ultimate limits of what can be known or experienced. But we know this. The inside of a black hole, that dark, crushing volume beyond the point of no return that you've seen dramatized in films, described in textbooks, treated as the most extreme but still comprehensible region of space is not what you think it is. It may not be anything at all. And the universe you think you're inside of right now, deep, three-dimensional, real, in the most obvious and immediate possible sense, might be, in the most precise mathematical meaning of the word, a surface. Not a metaphor, not a philosophical position, a mathematical result derived from the most successful theoretical framework in modern physics, confirmed in every calculation we've been able to check. That's what the physics tells me. After 50 years of following the equations wherever they lead, trusting them even when they say things that violate every intuition I have, I've learned one thing above all others. The universe doesn't have an inside the way you think it does. And neither, perhaps, do you. Think about that. Really think about it. And welcome again to the real universe.